Everything in this video is public information and the content in this video is intended for educational and informational purposes only. "70-year-old Richard Faulkner from Woodham, Rochester, Kent, ME1, near the High Street. Software used by police to monitor convicted ex-offenders led to the discovery that a man living near Snoodland was accessing thousands of illegal images of children. Richard Faulkner was the subject of a Sexual Harm Prevention Order (SHPO), which prohibited him using any device capable of accessing the internet unless it had been installed with a web monitoring program. The SHPO had been made by the courts in January 2024, following previous convictions related to Faulkner and the access of indecent images. Several months later, on the 26th of August, an alert was raised in connection to a computer Faulkner had registered with Kent Police. This showed he had again been accessing illegal material. He was arrested days later and searches were carried out at his home near the High Street, Woodham. The computer was seized along with several other devices not previously made available to police for inspection, and which was another SHPO requirement. During an initial police interview, Faulkner denied any wrongdoing, claiming he no longer had any interest in children. He insisted he had no knowledge of how illegal images would be on his computer. His lies were exposed when the device was later forensically examined along with another hard drive. Hundreds of thousands of illegal images were detected. These included more than 160 photos and videos in the most serious category, showing children suffering appalling abuse. Faulkner, 70, pleaded guilty at Maidstone Crown Court to multiple counts relating to making indecent images of children for breaching the SHPO. He also admitted failing to comply with ex-offender notification requirements, having not registered a number of bank and credit cards with police. On Tuesday the 4th of February 2025, Faulkner was sentenced to 3 years imprisonment. This included the activation of a previous suspended sentence. 22-year-old Jake Booth from Pembury Grove, Tunbridge, Kent, TN9. A convicted ex-offender banned from communicating with children met a teenage girl online and then started living in her home. Jake Booth from Tunbridge created an internet chat group for motorbike enthusiasts and used the forum to start initial contact with the child. Their conversation moved to Snapchat before Booth made arrangements to meet the girl and her parents. Booth gained the confidence of her family, and after convincing them they were simply close friends, he was allowed to stay in their home. Unbeknown to the family, Booth was the subject of a sexual harm prevention order following previous convictions for making indecent images of children. The order was made by the courts in 2022 and had a duration of 10 years. It included strict measures to protect children and meant he was prohibited from having any unsupervised contact or communication with anyone under 16. Booth, 22, of Pembury Grove, Tunbridge, was arrested on 11th of April 2024 when he was found by officers in the child's bed. He was charged with 14 offences relating to breaches of a sexual harm prevention order and ex-offender notification requirements. Booth pleaded guilty at Maidstone Crown Court and on the 31st of January 2025 was sentenced to 3 years imprisonment. 23-year-old Sayai Odayemi from Adams Drive, Willsborough, Ashford, TN24. Sayai Odayemi met the victim after she went to an event in Camden in September 2023 and was trying to organise a taxi back to her home in East London. He offered to drive her home if she contributed £20 towards the cost of petrol. And as she thought she had previously met him at a friend's party, she agreed. She blacked out during the journey, only having vague memories of what happened to her after this. She woke up the next morning to find herself in a hotel in Gravesend in pain, and only then realising that she was in Kent. Odayemi had pre-booked a room there where he attacked her. After waking the next morning, she FaceTimed a friend, and during the call, Odayemi spoke to the friend. using offensive terms when describing the woman. James Burnham from the CPS said this was an utterly appalling attack on a woman who was incapable of standing when they arrived at the hotel, being carried into the hotel by Odeyemi, and was clearly unable to consent to intercourse in any way. The woman woke up in a complete state of shock to find a man she did not know in the room with her, being abusive about her to her friend and telling her that intercourse activity had taken place between them. None of us can imagine how terrifying that must have been for her. Not only did Odeyemi pre-book the hotel room, showing a level of planning before the attack, but he also falsely claimed that the woman had engaged in consensual intercourse activity. This was a clear case of R-word, with the woman unable to consent to any form of intercourse activity, and that would have been clear to the defendant. Odeyemi of Ashford, Kent was convicted of R-word following a trial at Maidstone Crown Court. He was sentenced to 10.5 years prison sentence and will then serve an extended 5-year sentence on license. He was also convicted of breach of a risk order made in May 2022. This prohibited Odeyemi from any act of nature without the express consent of the woman concerned and having informed them of the order and its term, and without the express approval of the Public Protection Unit. He was given a 2.5-year sentence for this, to run concurrently with the sentence for the R. 24-year-old Abby Knight from Windmill Road, Gillingham, Kent, ME7. A young woman embarked on relentless exploitations of a vulnerable girl, filming intimate videos and exchanging thousands of explicit messages. Abby Knight not only encouraged the inappropriate contact knowing the victim's age and difficult personal circumstances, but also became quite controlling and jealous. Maidstone Crown Court heard that although it was accepted the 24-year-old had not targeted her victim in a predatory manner or had in any way threatened or forced her, she had taken advantage of the youngster's fractured and isolated lifestyle. Videos of them kissing intimately in the way partners would, and another of them lying in a bed together, also created via the TikTok platform. Knight of Windmill Road, Gillingham, later pleaded guilty to 4 offences of sexual activity with a child and 1 of causing or inciting a child to engage in sexual activity. Prosecutor Christina Roberry told Knight's sentencing hearing on Monday, November the 11th, that having met 2 years ago, the pair had very quickly become sexually intimate. It was noticed that they would also spend a long time on the phone together, with video calls occurring even when the victim went into the bathroom. There was a strong element of jealousy over the bond she was forming with another girl. Knight also requested photographs from the girl and would challenge her about what she was doing when they were not together. The relationship seemed quite controlling. The defendant would ask where she had been, who she had been with, and why she hadn't phoned her sooner. On one occasion, the defendant also said she knew best because she was the adult. Knight's defiant behaviour came to light when messages between them were discovered on the youngster's phone. In total, there was more than 19,000. The vast majority is sexually explicit, said the prosecutor. But the court heard that when Knight's phone was seized and downloaded by police, nothing relating to the victim was found on the device save for one message to her mum in which she made it quite clear that she was aware of the girl's vulnerability and acknowledged she was a child. Although police said the 2 videos had been created and timestamped on TikTok, it was the defense case that Knight had not been responsible herself for uploading any such material. The young victim attended the court hearing to bravely detail how she had been affected by Knight's offending, describing how she felt disgusted but what had happened and how it would haunt her. She said, "I can explain the emotion I feel for her. I don't think there are any words that can explain it. What Abby did to me changed my life. What she did I have to live with for the rest of my life. It pains me." On jailing Knight for 3 years, Judge Julian Smith told her that what she had perceived as relationship was what the law regarded as exploitation of a child. It was not something that is permissible, inevitable, or acceptable. but it was entirely your fault. He told Knight, adding that her jealousy and controlling nature demonstrated just how imbalanced and illegal it was. Referring to the victim's expressed feelings of betrayal and conflict, Judge Smith told Knight, the suggestion she was a willing party doesn't work with an adult. The responsibility was with you to say no. This was relentless conduct that was both sexual and controlling. Knight was also made subject to a 4-year restraining order and a 10-year sexual harm prevention order restricting contact with underage females. She must also sign in on the sex offender registry indefinitely and will be barred from working with children and vulnerable adults.